So you already know my name. I'm Urmi Sinha. I've secured All India Rank 117 UPSC CSE 2024. And to give a brief introduction about myself, I come from Howrah, West Bengal. I did my schooling from St. Agnes's Convent School, Howrah. And then I did my graduation in political science from St. Xavier's College, just nearby. And I completed it in 2023. And then I appeared for my exam in 2024. And fortunately, I was able to clear it in my first attempt. So, the natural question that arises whenever I tell this is that how do you crack it in your first attempt? And in one of the mock interviews that I went for, when I was preparing for my interview stage, one of the panel members told, कोई संविधान में नहीं लिखा है कि first attempt में नहीं हो सकता. And that's what I want to tell you. It's very doable. Yes, it's challenging because the syllabus is so vast. It's demanding, of course, but with the right kind of strategy and with the right kind of discipline, um, it's more about discipline than hard work. You do not need extraordinary intelligence. There are basic things that you need to do. Standard books, which do not require a lot of expertise in any field. You need to be a generalist, but you need to have the discipline to do everything, right from CSAT to the newspaper to current affairs to different subjects, PYQs, everything in a very disciplined manner every day. So if I start with, I've been told that a lot of you are preparing while being in college. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So so I also started my preparation. If I were to speak, I had decided I would give the civil services examination way back in school when I was like 7 years old. So I started reading the newspaper in school, but after that, the standard books and all I started when I was in the first year of college, and I was in the first year during lockdown 2020. So I also had a lot of time in my hand. So first of all, the first and foremost thing that you need to do is start reading the newspapers as soon as possible. A lot of people nowadays say the newspapers are not so necessary, but for me, I would share what worked for me. You can have your own strategy. This also I would like to mention right at the outset that you need to take away only that much from today's session which you feel will suit you. Because there are a lot of things, everyone has their own study patterns, their own strengths and weaknesses, but you need to just take those things away which you think will help you. So start reading the newspaper, and you need to not just skim through it, you need to read it like a study material. You need to devote, from my experience, around 1.5 hours on an average every day. Otherwise, you'll miss out on things because it's a part of your syllabus. You're not just reading for a general awareness of the headlines. You need to know what's actually going on. You need to know about the different expert opinions on the op-ed pages that come, and you either read the Hindu or the Indian Express, any one of them. Don't read other newspapers; they do not actually help. You after when you're preparing for an interview, you might refer to a few others, but now one will suffice. Uh, and reading the newspaper, you do not have to make notes right now, especially when you're in your first year, second year. You do not need to make notes right now. And even after that, for a few months, I did make notes, like around for 4 to 5 months in my full-fledged preparation. It started after my graduation. I made notes for a few months, but then I thought a lot of it is already covered in the current affairs magazines that are available. So I thought it would be duplication of efforts. If I'm getting it without any effort, I should use what's there. So you can do that too. But if you're someone who likes to memorize while making notes, again, if it suits you, you should go for that also. The first question that was here was that if you had to start again, what would you do differently? I think I would skip making notes for that 4 to 5 months also, because it did not really help me. I revised the current affairs from the magazines itself. But reading the newspaper is important because it presents the news and the current affairs in a flow. And I think that helps you understand what's happening in a uh, more structured manner. It's not just a paragraph written on a magazine. It's happening on everyday basis. Like if it's about the Trump's tariffs, everything every day some development is happening. So it will get etched in your memory, and this will especially help. Not so much in prelims. Prelims is still just objective things, but for your mains and interview, it will help a lot. Newspaper. So you can do that. And you can revise from the current affairs magazines that I told. Now the second thing that comes is how to build your foundation for GS. during college. So, this was also a question about NCRTs. Are they important? How important are they? So again, a lot of people might think that NCRTs are non-negotiable. Like you have to read all the NCRTs, but I did not. While I was in college, first year, I ordered 6 to 12 NCRTs for history because this was a subject that I was not very comfortable in. And but I come from a humanities background, but I did not have history in my plus two, but I had other subjects. So the foundation for subjects like economics or geography, these were already built. And I was pretty attentive and disciplined throughout my school life, so the foundation was built quite well. But history was something I was not comfortable in, so I started reading them to build interest. I did not make notes. If you're in your first or second year, you do not need to start making full-fledged notes right now. You can wait for a little time. Again, there might be two kinds of students. First is you will appear for your exam just after you finish college, and the other might take 1 year full-fledged preparation after that. So, for the first 2 years, if you're trying to attempt the exam just after your graduation, like if you're graduating in 2026 and attempting in 2026, so the first 2 years of your college, you just try to bring about a familiarity with all the subjects, with current affairs, with what's the syllabus, what are the standard books. You do not need to memorize everything. You do not have to take that pressure that you need to remember everything that you're reading in Lakshmikant or Spectrum. It's okay. Once you have an understanding of how things flow, what are the basic things, like even if you don't memorize everything of Lakshmikant, at least you know there are some fundamental rights. You'll remember some of them. And when you start preparing full-fledgedly in your third year, or after that, if you're preparing to do, if you're willing to do that, you can, you'll have a lot of things etched in your passive memory. So that will certainly help. So NCRTs, you can choose for yourself which are the subjects that you want to read the NCRTs. If you're very comfortable in economics, let's say, you can skip the NCRTs and jump straight to the standard books or coaching notes even, whatever you think is sufficient. And if you feel there are subjects where you need to have that foundation, where it's not yet built, or you're not interested in a subject, let's say, so you start with the NCRTs. Second thing, standard books. I also started reading the standard books while I was in college. So, because I like political science and I was also doing my graduation in political science, I did not use the NCRTs of political science. I straight away ordered Lakshmikant and I read them. I mean, Lakshmikant is a book you can just read and it's in the form of the notes. You do not need to make extra notes of it. So I started reading them. I think I completed 2 readings when I was in college. But I did not make an effort to memorize everything. But even if you don't make that effort, some things you will memorize. Other books, Spectrum for Modern History. I also ordered books for, I ordered from Amazon, that's why I keep saying ordered. But like, I started reading for medieval history. But I decided medieval history required a lot of effort for me, and the cost benefit analysis was not in my favor. So I just skipped medieval history. I did not study medieval history at all. I just stopped studying medieval history. So if there are subjects like world history or medieval history, subjects which are not very rewarding in your prelims or mains, you can actually skip them, or you can just know about the broad topics. Like world history, I just knew about the broad topics. Like, yeah, okay, there are these major events of French Revolution or the American Civil War. I did not go into the depths of it because again the cost benefit analysis was not in the favor. But again, if you're comfortable in medieval history, if you are able to memorize it, you can go for it. But this cannot be done for subjects like geography or economics or polity because a lot of questions come from here. You cannot skip these subjects. But if you skip a small portion here and there, it's okay. You don't have to just learn everything that's there. So GS Foundation is done. And then optional. Because I had my optional also as PSIR and I was doing political science graduation. And at that time only, I took out the syllabus of PSIR, paper 1, 2, and there were a lot of overlaps that I had with my college syllabus. So I decided that I will pay attention and I will focus on my graduation as well. So if it's the same for you, that your optional and your graduation subject is the same, I think you need to just study what's going there in the college. And later on also, because UPSC requires a different kind of approach, you will need to prepare for it. But at least the basic concepts, like I did not start marks from scratch. I knew about marks. I knew about J.S. Mill. I knew about Rousseau. So that helps. And everything that you read, everything that you study ultimately helps. They are so optional also. And if it's a different subject, you can wait for the completion of your graduation if you're willing to give it one more year, or you can start in your third year. That also again depends. If it's a vast syllabus, you can start a little earlier also. And then current affairs. Current affairs, I've already told you about the newspaper. Newspaper is also not just current affairs. That's why I put it in a different section right at the beginning. It helps you develop your vocabulary, which helps you in the essay paper. It helps you bring that structure of writing when you read opinion articles. It also helps you put both sides of the argument in a balanced manner, which is required in mains. So that's why I put it as a different section than current affairs. Now let's come to current affairs. So in current affairs, except the newspaper, you need to read some magazine, because a lot of things you might miss, or you might not be able to note it down even if you're making notes. So there are a lot of magazines available. You can pick any one, a lot of good material, and you need to keep revising them. And do not run after multiple sources of current affairs, newspaper and one magazine. But if you're in college and you have time, you must read. I would say Yojana and Kurukshetra by college. And if you're just attempting, like going to attempt it in 2026, you might skip it if you have paucity of time. But if you have time, go for it, because it brings again a familiarity with the different kinds of schemes that are going on. Like Jal Jeevan Mission, you get to know about that. You'll get to know about PM Kisan. You'll be familiarized with these things, and the more you read about it, it becomes very deeply etched in your memory, and things naturally flow when you're writing your mains answer. So you can do that as well. Now, if you're preparing for the next for 2026 attempt, now let's come to that part of the session. So first of all, how many hours do you need to devote? That's a very common question. So on an average, you need to have like 8 to 10 hours. I would say 10 hours. A lot of people find it on the higher end. I used to study 11 and a half hours. Strange number, but I used to study 11 and a half. Because 12, I found it too much. And 11, I don't know, I still had fuel in me after 11 hours. So I pushed it till 11 hours, 30 minutes. So, but if you find it too much, but I think you should do 10 hours. If you're doing classes here, include that in your schedule as well. I included the classes time also. But I did online coaching, so I used to watch videos at 2x or something. So I saved a lot of time there. But you need to have around 7 to 8 hours of self-study. And second, then the question comes, how to balance coaching with self-study. So I would say the ratio should be 20 to 80. Like 80% should be your self-study. 20% coaching. I mean, even if you divide the hours, you understand. Classes are for 3 hours. Like 3 hours, 2 hours. 3 hours, yeah. So, and beyond that, but you are giving 8 hours around, or 6 to 7 hours, whatever. So 80 to 20% roughly it should be there. Because you need time for yourself to make your own notes, your strategy, your revision, of course. So of the class notes also, you need revision. If you study it once, you won't remember. You'll remember hardly anything. So that's about self-study and number of hours. And then keep your resources limited. Very limited. Like if you're doing Lakshmikant for polity, just do Lakshmikant for polity. A lot of people also refer to DD Pass and all, but that you can do if you have PSIR as your optional. For GS, you do Lakshmikant, and yes, you will need other things, but I think that will be provided by your coaching notes. I did that for myself. A lot of things that were not there in the standard books, I found it in my coaching notes. So I used to study from there. You can also do that. Or if you find that you need to study a few chapters from some other book, just skim through it. If you want to read a little more on judiciary or something, you can do that, but keep that very limited. Because in this preparation, what you need to study is important, of course, but what you need to leave is also very important. Because in a limited amount of time in all the subjects, you cannot gain a mastery over all of them, and you do not need to, honestly. You need to be a generalist. You need to just solve the questions and get over. If you're able to solve the questions with your class notes, just refer to class notes. If you're able to solve it with spectrum, just leave it at spectrum. Don't do extra. Does not reward. And if you put in a lot of time and effort from one subject, it's guaranteed that some other subject will get neglected. So that is something that you cannot afford to do. So now if we come to note making, I did not make extensive self notes. I had my coaching notes, as I made them my primary notes. And what I used to do, I used to make it on A4 size sheets. This I had also heard. If you want to use board, you can use it. No, it's all right. It's all right, right? Or do you want the board? It's all right. Okay. Note making. Yeah. So I made the coaching notes my primary notes, and what I used to do, I used to make the notes on A4 size sheets. And I used to make margins, like really broad margins on the side, so that whatever I need to add from some standard book, like if I read something in, let's say, a standard book, like 12, class 11 and 12 NCRTs of geography is essential. That you need to study, because a lot of questions are directly picked from there. So I read that also. So if I have geography class notes and I want to add something from NCRT, which is not there in my class notes, I used to put that on the margin. Other subjects like environment or economics, where a lot of things come from current affairs. So if you're reading something in the newspaper or current affairs magazine, which you think should be added in your notes, you add that in your notes. This is a strategy that I followed. And during my mains, I did make those 2-page, 3-page notes, which are recommended, but I did not do that for all the subjects. Like I was very comfortable in quality. I did not do it for that. I did that for geography because you require maps. You need to draw maps and you need to plot where are which resources and where are the mountains. Because you need to also put that in your mains answer. Geography is one thing where you will need to make diagrams. So I made notes of those diagrams. I also made different like rare earth elements, let's say. I made कितना percent कहाँ पे पाया जाता है, cobalt के top 3 producers कौन है, things like that. And what I did for other subjects was I made extensive data sheets. I made sheets like if the topic is health, I used to write what's the infant mortality rate of India, what's the immunization coverage of India, what's the MMR, TFR, things like that. If it's about education, I used to make what's the enrollment ratio, GER, gross enrollment ratio, or there's the ASER report, ASER, ASER report. So notes from there, like, yeah, these are something that I can write down in my answers. Here also just put those data in your data sheets. This you can start a little earlier also. I started it after mains, after prelims, but you can start a little earlier also making these data sheets. But don't make it too unmanageable. You need to just memorize those kind of data which you will be able to put in your answers. If there's one data on, let's say, enrollment, just keep it at one data. Any one data works. They don't need any particular, they don't ask particular data. That you can do. And then there was a question on timeline, like if you're giving it in 2026, till what time do you need to complete your syllabus? So I would say till January 2026, first week of January, second week of January, you should complete at least once all the subjects, including your optional. Because after that, you need to focus like completely on your prelims with mock tests and PYQ analysis. And prelims also requires a lot of objective things to be learned, which in your first reading you might not be able to retain completely. But you need to complete all the subjects with the mains portion here. Because after prelims, you'll get just 3 months for your mains. And hopefully you clear it. So just 3 months for your mains. You cannot do everything. You have to do your essay, you have to do ethics, you have to do different portions which are not there in prelims. You have to revise them because there would have been a long time since you would have revised, because from January, February, you'll be just focusing on your prelims. So, and you need to do answer writing, P/Qs, everything. So you need to keep your notes and at least one thorough reading, preferably revision, a little bit of revision, like you study today and you revise on the weekend, something like that, a little bit of revision too. You need to do this till January, first week of January. or second week, let's say. And after that, you need to start solving PYQs and mock tests. PYQs again, as soon as you finish a portion of the syllabus, like, and not just in the coaching, like you're taking classes, that's great, but you need to keep the pace. This is something that's important. You need to keep the pace of the syllabus completion at a much faster pace than what happens in coaching. At least that was for me, because I wanted it to finish till January, and the coaching went on till it was me. I had the exam in June. It went on till April. So I had finished the syllabus. I used to do classes after that more as revision and notes consolidation. So you could keep the pace of your syllabus completion in such a manner that you complete the syllabus till January. That you need to sketch a timetable for your own, on your own. Now, how much time and how many months for what syllabus, for what subject? Now, that is something that's very, very personal, because you might find economics very easy and complete it in just 1 month, or let's say 20 days, 25 days, but someone might need an extra effort in that. You might need more time for quality, let's say. Some others may not. Okay. So you need to keep that very according to your SWOT analysis. Like what's, you can also skip a few subjects, like I told you can skip medieval history if you find it too challenging. So but yeah, make the syllabus in a manner that you'll be able to finish everything till January. This is something that I keep. Now after that, mock tests. Now mock tests also, you need to keep a few things in mind. First is, what are the kind of mock tests that you need to solve? There's a lot of material in the market. There are a lot of mock tests, but you need to judge on the basis of PYQs. That, do the mock tests have the quality? Not the same. No mock tests that I've ever solved had the same level of quality as that of UPSC, but similar, at least similar. Like it's not too dicey. It's not too current affairs based, because it's, the actual paper is not too current affairs based, but some mock tests might be. So you need to judge that by yourself. And once you've given so much time to the preparation, you'll be able to judge that. How many mock tests did I solve? This was asked, how many questions did I solve daily? I do not remember. But I used to solve something or the other daily. Like either I used to do PYQs or mock tests, but I used to solve some questions. So PYQ analysis, again, you just don't need to solve them. A lot of toppers have been reiterating this fact for a long while, that you need to analyze them. Now there are a few ways of analyzing. One is the common themes that are repeated. Like let's say green hydrogen. This is something that is like a favorite topic of UPSC nowadays. So you can read more about green hydrogen. You can, if you have class notes for that, good. And if you want to augment them from sources on the internet or something you read on in the newspaper, do that, because it's a favorite topic. There are things like quality. There are different things coming up. You just need to keep revising them. This is one way of analyzing. Second is the options of the questions. Like a lot of times the options become questions in some other year and come. So you need to prepare a little bit, not extensively again, because you need to revise them also. So you need to make some notes on the options as well. Like if some Internet of Things is mentioned, and if there's let's say nanotechnology mentioned in some option. These are questions. This is not a very good example, because these have come as full-fledged questions as well. But whatever, the options that are there, you need to prepare some material on that, good material on that, because you are expecting a question sometime or the other. Another way of analyzing is elimination techniques. And I say elimination technique is something that you will need to solve your papers, your prelims paper, because it might not work in your mock tests, because they're not prepared by the same people who prepare the UPSC question paper. But in the UPSC question paper, the elimination techniques actually work. There are things like, if there's a figure, like this is the amount of the fund, usually these figures are wrong. If there are very complicated sentences like but, has but, as, it's a very long sentence, generally it's wrong. Not always, but generally. And sure, like 100% surety के साथ you will be able to solve 30 to 35 questions, like with 100% surety. But in order to score that cutoff, you need a lot more. So you will have to take the risk. You will have to take those 50-50 chances. And you will also have to take that, but at some times you just know that one option is wrong. The other three you're not sure. You'll be stuck between those three options. But sometimes if you have attempted very less questions, you'll have to take that risk as well. So elimination techniques will come into play. For this also, there are a lot of good videos on YouTube. You can refer to them. You can just type elimination techniques for UPSC, and then you have to see for yourself that how far these hold true when you are actually solving PYQs, because all might not hold true. You have to see for yourself. And again, a word of caution, I already said that, but I'll repeat, because these elimination techniques might not always hold true while you're solving your mock tests. So don't worry about that. Just see if they are working on PYQs. If they're working, then they're good. Right? Again, PYQs and mock tests help you in determining what is your optimum level of questions that you need to attempt. This is also personal. Each one will have a different optimum number of questions. For me, it was more than 90. I attempted 93, 94 questions in my prelims, because I found that through trial and error that the more number of questions that I attempt, the more marks I score. For some people, it might be that the more you attempt, there is more negative marking and you might lose on marks. So that is something that you need to figure out on yourself. So you need to keep a note that if I attempted 85 questions, this is something that I score. You need to do that over like 5-6 mock tests to get an average number. Then you do it with 90, let's say. Do it with 80 even, just to check if that's what works for you. Do it with 95, let's say. Whatever works for you. But this will only come when you practice a lot of mock tests. I solved around 70. I had a lot of time. And I mean, I was preparing full-fledgedly, so I had a lot of time. Also, this was my first attempt, so I did not have the experience. Again, while solving mock tests, you need, after a certain while, you need not start doing that outright, but you need to solve it with the OMR sheet. Because a lot of times, when you're filling it, you might commit mistakes. There's something that I did. I mean, I practiced at home, and fortunately, it wasn't that big a deal for me while I was doing it for my prelims, actual prelims. Even when I walked out, I said mock test jaisa hi laga. I mean, when you solve so much, it just feels like a mock test. Even mains felt like कि हाँ मतलब जैसे घर में देते हैं बस ये ज़्यादा लोगों के साथ दे दिया मैंने. Doesn't feel very different. I mean, yeah, the nerves are there, but the nerves also settle if you practice a lot. Once you start giving the exam, the nerves settle. It feels like okay, fine, लिखना है बस. Essay. I would like to say a few things on essay. I also scored pretty well in essay, so I would like to share a few tips on that. I scored 128. So this was because of my essay paper, I got a good rank. My optional, I don't know for what reason, my optional did not go that well. I had thought it went well. I knew all the answers, but somehow I did not score very good. But essay compensated that. So essay is something that I absolutely love. I loved before also. Now I love even more. So and this was something that was my strong point ever since school. Like I was a really good. I used to write very nice essays. So this I had thought कि हाँ ठीक है मतलब यहाँ पे I'll score, because you need to score. You need to have that extra edge in some paper to score a rank. So essay का you need to make, first of all, you need to have some good examples and quotes for the common topics that are there. Like hope is a common thread to a lot of philosophical essays. Hope, optimism, courage. These are things that, in different words, the quotes just mean in their essence that you need to be optimistic in life. There are a lot of philosophical essays. If you look at the PYQs, you'll find this theme. So have a few quotes, good quotes on optimism. Have good quotes on, let's say, courage, philanthropy, charity, things that you are expecting in an essay. About preparedness, like make hay while the sun shines, something on that line. So you can have a good list of topics. This is also something that is available nowadays on Telegram or other places. You can find them. If you are in an essay course, you can get it from there also. Or you can find it. There's a lot of material available nowadays. So you can get it from there. You also need to have very good anecdotes. And you can keep collecting anecdotes from all places. Like you can collect it from movies, you can collect it from books, from newspapers. You can keep collecting them. You will get ready-made notes also a lot of times, but to have that personal touch, you can have your own anecdotes also. Like I watched that Chandu Champion and I use Murtigan Petkar's uh, example in a lot of essays. That I do not remember the exact examples that I wrote in my actual paper, but I use a lot of examples from here and there, like some story or some friend told me something perhaps. And in essay, the peer group also works very well. So form a peer group if you haven't yet. In other subjects also it has, but I haven't tried. I just tried a peer group for my essay and my interview personality test. And it really helped me. You can start forming it now only. A lot of people say that they also share the burden of note making amongst themselves. You can see if that works for you. You can do that. But for essays, it's even easier. You just have to write essays in a group and then you give it to each other to evaluate. I did it with a friend. I also sent it to my father. Every essay that I wrote, I used to send it to my father. कि बताओ इसमें क्या ठीक है क्या करना है. Then he says ये example थोड़ा छोटा कर दो, बहुत खींच लिया ऐसे. Then my friend also used to tell me, ये quote add कर दो, quote add कर दो, या ये you could have used this example here, and actually used two of his examples in the actual paper. So you can also, it helps because when you are writing, your understanding is limited, your scope is limited, because अपने तरफ से तो हम best ही ऐसे लिख रहे होते हैं ना. But when that oversight comes, when that like that external oversight comes, you get to know कि हाँ और better हो सकता है या हाँ कुछ हो गया problem. So it helps. You can do that also. You can start doing that now only. I did that later, but if you can start doing that now, I say it's something that you need not complete your GS syllabus completely. You can just write, yes, with GS syllabus, your knowledge base will expand. You will get a lot more material to include in your essay. But right now, also, you can start with it just to know how your vocabulary is, or if you need to improve in that, or if it's good, then you can be happy about it. I need not work on it anymore. And the structure of the essay, how to use anecdotes, right? So, philosophical essays, I used to have a broad structure. I love philosophical essays. I did not like attempting the other essays because I thought philosophical essays was a place where I could show my creativity, where I could mold the essay in the manner that I wanted to flow. Other essays are according to me, not necessarily, but I found them monotonous. Like there's just one topic and you have to write on that. Philosophical essays, you can bring a lot of diversity, a lot of angles. So there's this pastel approach, P for politics, E economics, S science, T technology, L law or legal dimensions, and E again environment. So you can have this approach. There are other approaches available. Just try to make it multi-dimensional. Philosophical essays, you need to just get the hang of the essence, what that quote is trying to say, what that topic is trying to say, and you need to inculcate examples from very different, wide variety of fields to make them interesting. You need to write around 7 to 8 paragraphs, and you can do it uh, with the help of wait, I'll tell you. First, you start with an anecdote. This is the structure that I followed. You start with an anecdote. You do not explain the topic right there and then. The introduction is an anecdote, and then you connect it towards the end of that paragraph with the topic. Then the second paragraph, again, it can vary. Essay is also something that's creative, and you can have your own style. This is something that works. Second paragraph I used to do, I used to explain the topic in my own words. Like this is something that is being conveyed to us. And I used to use adjectives and some other quote if I think is also relevant, I used to add that. Then third paragraph onwards, I use the pastel approach. Like one dimension I will use political, another I will use economics related, the other I will use as environment or world history, something from IR perhaps, international dimension, something from current contemporary global events. And then, but no matter what the anecdote, towards the end of each paragraph, you connect it to the original topic. So that continuously the examiner is reminded that you have not deviated I mean, he or she might get a feel at some point, but you keep reminding that examiner that no, this is that I'm connecting to the topic. And then use connecting words, however, moreover, similarly, so that a flow is maintained. They do not remain haphazard paragraphs, they become a full integrated structured essay. This is about essay now. What are the questions? Strategy to crack UPSC 8 months at that one. Yeah, I think I did that. How much time should I get subject? Okay, that basically for those who did. Oh yes, preliminary examination. You also need to focus on CSAT. Like, do not ignore CSAT because a lot of people have said that they clear their GS in their first attempt or like whatever attempt, and they were not able to clear prelims because of CSAT, which is an unfortunate thing because like you're so brilliant, you're so sharp that you're clearing your GS, but you're unable to do that just because of qualifying paper. So that is something that should not happen. You should make sure that that does not happen with you. If you're clearing GS, matlab, you should be worried about your GS after you give your prelims exam, the actual one. You should not be worried about CSAT. Prepare like that. If you think that GS pass हो रहा है, then ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए that doubt रहे कि मेरा CSAT होगा कि नहीं होगा. ऐसे prepare करो. So again, reading comprehension is one section, math is another, logical reasoning is another. For me, reading comprehension was a strength. So I think I attempted all the reading comprehension except one. I wasn't sure, so I skipped that. But I also did math because reading comprehension might come very dicey, might come very unpredictable, and you do not know which is the correct answer. Maths, you can still have surety. But if you're not very good at math, so I focused on reading comprehension and logical reasoning, but math also I did not neglect because you don't know, you never know what kind of questions will come. So I focused on things like profit loss, time, clock, calendar. These are simple formulas. You just write them down and you can solve the questions. Again, there are a lot of PYQs should be your main source. First, you solve the PYQs, and then UPSC is increasing the level day by day. So just go through a few. If you're in some course, fine. If you're not, there are YouTube videos for this as well available on platforms. You can see where they show you uh, how you can increase the level. Like if there's a question on calendar, they do that work. I mean, we won't be able to do it as we do not come from logical reasoning or CAT background or something. We might not be able to do it, but there are people who do that. So you solve that, but first solve the PYQs for yourself. And when you solve the PYQs, you get to know what is your strength. Like, is your math better than logical reasoning? Is your math better than reading comprehension? Or is your reading comprehension better than math? So, and then you can have your own strategy. Like, I'll attempt more of reading comprehension or attempt more of maths. So that you need to figure out for yourself again. And CSAT, I think I started, when I was in school, I did a little bit of CSAT, but not very seriously. But full-fledged, I did not do that in college at all. I focused on GS because I knew that I will take that 1 year after my graduation because I wasn't eligible to sit for the exam when I graduated. I was 20. So after that, I thought I'd start CSAT then. You can do that if you have time, if you'll have time after your graduation. Otherwise, you start during your graduation. And this is something fairly simple, like you solve a few questions and you get a hang of it gradually. If you find permutation combination too challenging, you can leave that out. You have other topics, you do that. But if you can do the basic questions, just do it. Like if you have time, just do everything you can. Mains preparation strategy, I did make those 3 vision notes I told you, but not very extensively, only for some subjects. I made data sheets. I used to give mock tests. I did not give a lot of mock tests. This was my first mains. So I had a lot to study and prepare and do a lot of things together. So I just enrolled in one mock test for each, like for essay, for optional, for GS. I used to give them. Optional paper, first of all, decide your optional very carefully. This should be something that you're truly interested in. Like some might say anthropology is very scoring, but I knew that I'm more interested in PSIR. I'll take PSIR, although the syllabus is vast in PSIR. So that you need to decide for yourself. It should be a subject which you're truly interested in, or even if you're not interested right now a lot, but you have that faith in yourself that yeah, I will be able to continue with this subject for a very long period of time and go into the depths of this subject without getting bored. It should be a subject like that. BSIR, a lot of PYQs get repeated. So PYQs become very important. I do not know about the others. I think they should be the same because if it's for PSI, it should hold true for others as well. But I cannot say, you need to check that for yourself. But if that is true, you need to focus on PYQs a lot more. Like you can have ready-made conclusions and introductions and some nice quotes that you can put, some nice examples like PSIR. There's a blog by Utkarsh Dwivedi sir. He's one of the previous year's toppers. He has made a blog where he has given ready-made introductions, conclusions that he used during his strategy. So I just took that from him. I did not make my own. I just took that from him. And you need to do value addition for these. Like if there's a topic in India-China relation, a lot of things keep changing. Like IR. I shouldn't go into the depth because a lot like optional varies, but you need to keep updating those notes with current affairs to add that, that personal extra effort. How to stay consistent? Consistent is you need to clock your hours, I would say. Like if you have decided you'll study for 10 hours, or 8 hours, whatever it is, you need to clock your hours. Like just sitting at the table does not count as studying. If you're scrolling or if you're distracted, it does not count as studying. Or if let's say your mother walks into the room and you talk to her, you're not studying at that time, right? So you need to have a timer where you can stop it. Like 8 hours means 8 hours of dedicated study, not sitting at the table. So that I used to do. If you have your phone and the timer is in the phone and the phone distracts you, you can buy a separate small timer or something. You can put it in your laptop, whatever. But you need to have a timer, I think, to keep yourself disciplined and accountable to yourself. Like, yes, if I have said that I will study 8 hours, I am studying 8 hours. I'm not just sitting at the table. I have actually dedicated 8 to 10 hours of study today. Motivated, I think, the service, all the satisfaction you get after clearing the exam, all the happiness, the fact that you make your parents so proud and that you enter into such prestigious service. Like obviously you will do work for the country and that's the larger motive, but even for yourself, like for your personal ambitions, for your career, for your personal self-esteem. I mean, even for that, it's a great service. You have great opportunities. So I think that's the motivation. How to frame answers and understand the demand of the question. This again comes with practice. Answer writing. I used to write answers. When I started full-fledged preparation in 2023, I used to write a few answers. Like if I completed, let's say, a topic in polity or economics, I used to write a few PYQs or a few questions I got from somewhere. Just to see that, okay, fine, I know the structure, I know how to write an introduction in 1 line or 2 lines. It should be one sentence. Like it can take 2 lines, but it should be one sentence introduction because you have fixed pages. So you practice writing in those means answer writing copies are available. Write your answers there so that you know that fine, you're also adhering to the word limit and space also. So you write the conclusion, write the introduction, then come to the demand. Like demand can be critically analyzed, and critically analyzes both sides, pros and cons. It is not just criticism, it's both. Or if it's elaborate, you just elaborate. Like what in different bullet points. You can even make flow charts, you can make diagrams, and this is something again that will become clearer to you once you start actually writing these answers. That where do you need to use way forward, or where you can just end with a simple conclusion with a quote, or where do you need to cite a few programs that are related to, let's say the topic is education. The question is related to education. There you might require a way forward where you write these are the schemes, NEP 2020 or some Agra Shiksha or whatever, that you can quote here. Like you can put in your answer. This is again something that you will get a hang of it once you start practicing. Start doing that. Solve PYQs, of course, even in this. Here also you will get to know about a few common themes, few common topics. The tag words are important: elaborate, criticize, critically analyze, elucidate, illustrate. what should be the ideal motive? Again, I said, of course, I mean, doing good for your country, for the people, mostly. The country is made of the people. So doing good for the people, bring about a change, things that you now feel helpless to do, you might be able to do, and hopefully you will be able to do once you get into the services. But even for yourself, I mean, having a personal motivation towards services, I do not think is a bad thing. Everyone has their personal ambitions, and you are when you're preparing for the exam, it's given that you have personal ambitions together with the need of serving society. And even for serving society, there are 100 different ways. But you chose this because you feel that this is something that will satisfy you also as an individual. So I think there are both motivations to it. If you have any other questions, we can. Yeah.
Now, how do you reach the ARC reports and how can you incorporate them in your answer?
ARC reports I read only for the mains. I mean, you need it only for the mains and perhaps for the interview. So ARC, like there are topics on citizen charters or RTI. I did not go into the full depths of it. I used to take out some points. You will also get summaries of these ARC reports. You do not have to go through the entire thing, right? Because it's again the cost benefit analysis does not work in your favor if you read the full report. It's very bulky. You need some pointers that you can add. You need some suggestions. Nowadays, because there's so much material on the internet, you can also type second ARC recommendations on, let's say, on RTI, and you can just write 2-3 recommendations. That's enough. And when you're writing it in your answer, you highlight second ARC so that the examiner knows that you are adding something from ARC and does not miss it. Like it's highlighted. And even if you recommend 2 things, it's fine. It's more than enough.